Hey, you little stinkers. This is Jay. I'm very sick with, the big COVID. Yeah, I know. It sucks. But, it's all good. We are doing another kind of little part 2 of the politics from last episode. Talk about protests, talk about eagles, snakes, President Kaleb, and I hope you enjoy. Leave comments down below on things you want to hear or anything that makes you go hee hee hoo hoo during the podcast. See you at the end of it.
To Fort. What's the big fort in Charleston?
Fort Sumter?
I went to Fort Sumter.
Oh shit.
That was really cool when I was there. It was pretty cool. They take you on a whole ferry all the way out there, cool. And like you walk around and look at the stuff, and there's like a whole inside tour. And there were two things. There was this one thing that was like a poster, and it was really fucking cool. And it was like an eagle's nest, and there was like a red, white, and blue eagle or whatever, and then had like all these eggs, and like some of them they all had their own names for like the states, like Alabama, Kentucky, and all the ones that were like the slave states, or what do you call them? Not the Axis.
The Confederacy.
Confederacy.
The Axis.
They all like broke open, and there were like snakes in there, like in the eggs, and like they were like traitors or whatever. And the eagle's like, fucking gonna kill. It was really fucking cool. I was like, that is some really fucking cool propaganda.
Nope.
It was so cool. I didn't either.
Oh, really?
I didn't know what it was.
How was it start?
Because when
like one of the first major conflicts.
It was one of the first major like fights.
And it was like also the first victory for the Confederacy. So it was like the first thing that it drew them a lot of attention from the rest of the states that were on the fence. As far
because
as
the Union had the fort, and a bunch of Confederacies armed themselves and like shot cannons and stuff before.
So basically, what state was it in? North Carolina?
South Carolina.
So basically what happened was when South Carolina seceded from the Union, the Union troops at Fort Sumter were still there, but they were on an island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on an island.
Yeah, so they're that's what's unique
like a main
about
island.
it, and that's where the Civil War
That's interesting.
kind of began.
But that poster was really fucking cool. And then there's this, there's like other political stuff.
Fort Sumter.
Sure.
I'd be down. I loved taking the ferry was awesome. But there was
I have family in the East Coast. We can bum out their place.
I can picture that poster though.
It's so cool. It's so fucking cool. I mean, I don't know if I have a picture of it. It might be on my Snapchat, but it's here. Like it looks so cool, and it's got that's what it has. It doesn't have snakes. It has like. I'm assuming it's like propaganda of like either politicians or like it's got like all like a bunch of weird animals like popping out of the eggs, and the eagle the eagle literally says annihilation to traitors. That's what I knew. There was something hyper aggressive.
Wow.
It's like fucking slaughtering the eggs. Annihilation to traitors. I thought that was so fucking cool.
That is cool.
See, the U.S. has some kind of cool history.
During those time periods, there was some really cool. Even old Uncle Sam in the war effort is kind of fucking cool. And like Uncle Sam and Rosie the Riveter, that shit's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like when we bonded together because we had to. Now it's like we all just hate each other, but we don't really. We think we do.
Jim Crow.
But and then that's the end of the podcast. But then there's this, which is a quote from Abraham Lincoln address. It was like a speech he gave to Congress, and this was part of it. I think this is really cool. He says, "Any people anywhere being inclined and having the power have the right to rise up and shake off the existing government and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right. A right which we hope and believe is to liberate the world."
Yep.
I think that's
actually
cool.
that's actually the concept that's in there is that people have the right to overthrow the government. They don't think it's right.
And that's like, I think it's so interesting because that was literally like the whole founding of America was like throwing off an oppressive government, an extremely overbearing, douchebaggy government, and then doing it against all odds. And they sat down and they're like, this is the most important thing in politics, is the people have the right to take their country back when they need to. And, like, the entire fucking thing is set up around protecting that right and maintaining it no matter what. I think that's so cool. I think that's really so cool.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that U.S. is built on. Just right now, we look like a bunch of goofballs. But
we're still learning how to stand. We're like advanced in like first and second grade. Now we're hitting like fourth grade, and
we're just kind of
we're
like,
still a young country.
Algebra's kicking our ass.
We have like fucking Europe, like France, UK, and stuff have like had thousands of years under our belt to develop themselves and find themselves. We're a very young country. Compared to the rest of the world.
If we can get, there's so many little things that would need to happen that would make our lives better. We need to fix. We need to fix the media. We need an actual media that's at least, come on. Right now it's a fucking joke. It's not even remotely what it needs to be.
When we were
I don't know if you can. It is a joke.
When we were in
China
the other day, when you look at Fox News and like the other news outlets, like they're already a parody of themselves.
They really are.
It's fucking insane.
They were like, that's where I got the baby formula thing.
The baby formula thing.
Baby formula is in a, I don't know, is
decline.
And they
Biden to blame?
Yeah, and then they literally did a whole half-an-hour segment about a congressperson saying birthing people instead of saying birthing women.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were like, oh, so now we're saying birthing people now, not women, because the whole transgender movement
that's the
genders
concern
thing.
right now.
And that was like literally a 30-minute segment where you had like...
They love that.
I still don't like CNN, but you had them actually talk about like, the whole Ukraine
matter?
Invasion, like Russia taking over Mariupol.
What was
like,
it?
That's a little more important.
I don't know if you saw the end of that, but it was like, package given to Ukraine. Money could have been used for the wall?
Yeah.
Why does this matter? Like,
it's so funny. It's just funny.
It's just so weird.
So the reason why I think
they're just like saying stuff that people in that would like.
I think the
Fox and CNN the whole time is just like pushing the buttons that people want to hear.
Yeah.
It's just saying things that people want to hear, and just like slightly, keep telling me about it. I fucking hate it. Like, it's so stupid.
I just think it's funny because you look
stupid.
at like the news stations and they're literally just. I think CNN still does it, but way more so Fox News. It's just funny because they're literally like playing as like they're serious, but they're literally a parody of themselves. Like they're literally like being the.
I think they all suck.
I'm just not saying that. I'm just saying like they're literally like parodying based off like what they're told like, or like this is what's wrong with you. It's like we're gonna fucking do that. We're gonna be like.
I have to disagree. I think CNN's just as bad.
No, I think I said that in the beginning. Like,
I bet if I went on CNN right now, I'd still find something about a 10-word sentence Trump said 10 years ago.
Oh yeah,
I bet I could still find it right now. It's
also,
like shut the fuck up.
You know the one thing, everything that makes me the most annoyed about media is that the fucking stupid fucking the stupid when they do like the clips of like speeches and stuff. The fucking like clip segments, they're always out of context.
It's all because otherwise it wouldn't be bad. It would just be a normal speech. Because
I suck my cock. There you have it, guys.
I can't believe it.
Why would he say that?
I mean, is that appropriate? Is that who we want leading our families, our nation, our children? That's the representation of the state and the country right now. That's what it's come to.
Actually have to like. So there's actually like a whole new science behind it too, where you actually have people creating scripts and speeches to know that they're going to be voice clips, so they have to try to figure out the speech the way you create it. So even if they clip any 6 seconds, it'll always be in context.
This is so ridiculous. This is the goofiest thing ever.
It's absurd.
It's what Bernie. Actually, so it's actually what Bernie had to do for a lot of his speeches and scripts because they knew he was going to take it out of context a lot. So every script and speech that was made for him or he made would he be like, if you could take any 6 seconds out of his clip, it would always be in context.
That's ridiculous. Like, if I ever ran a campaign, I know I'm not a politician, but if I ever got to a point where I was running some sort of campaign, I would literally run it on recruiting like all like the great people I've met in my life to stand in my corner and to like handle things that like the issues that they know more knowledge about, like people that I know I could trust. And then 2, it would be like be transparency. My underlying thing would be like transparency and honesty. It's like even if I didn't want to talk about it, you want to talk about that like weird thing that happened when I was 22? Let's talk about it. I'm not gonna lie, I did something stupid and it fucking sucked. But I was 22. That was 30 years ago, and I'm sorry for it. I've talked to those parties. I've talked to those people. We've talked about it.
You're like, okay,
we felt bad. We handled it, and I apologize for the things I've done in my past. But I'm gonna move on. I probably wouldn't last a day. But maybe there's something that would like touch people that'd be like, he's honest.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
like what he
honesty.
did, but I feel like
It's
I can
also-
trust him, and I would just hope that that could take me somewhere. Because I don't. What the fuck else can you do? It's like I don't know. Just play the stupid. You either play the game or don't play at all. I guess.
I just like the idea. You're all like, okay, yeah, I said the N-word once when I was 22. Can we get past that now? Like, I was stupid.
I mean, literally, shit like that. If people would be like, okay, well, you know, on the podcast that you have, because like people would find shit like this with 20 views from 30 years ago. It's like, you know, there's a podcast. They bring it up, and I talk about my cum was gonna taste fucking grape flavored. I'd be like, if you guys want to talk about that,
No, my cum
we will talk about it.
No, it was my.
I will talk to you guys about
Caleb,
it. I will have an hour-long conversation on television right now about
Caleb,
that, if that is what you
It
want.
was that my cum. It was when my cum tastes like green apple Jolly Ranchers.
You wanted that. I didn't want that.
I said that.
You're taking stuff out of context now.
Let's make this clear, okay?
No,
Anyone who's listening,
I
who's
said
making
that
big-
my cum would taste like green apple Jolly Ranchers.
But I'm serious. That is the campaign I would run.
No, I think it's
That's
fine. Just be
something that
honest.
people
It's more
would like.
wholesome.
I would hope. I would hope that despite them hearing stupid shit like.
At least this generation would like that.
I mean, there'd be so much to it. There'd be all the goofy, stupid shit. All the dumb times I said something stupid. All the times I still say something stupid. But it'd just be like, listen, it's like, that'd be my bottom line campaign, is transparency and honesty. You want to talk about it, let's fucking talk about it.
Speaking of unnecessary, this person just graduated and made fucking 3x3 foot goddamn cuttery bird.
Oh, you know
board
what? It's those
for their
fucking.
graduation.
You know what it
for
is?
what reason?
You know what it is?
For what? For
You
their
know what it is?
family?
Because they
Bullshit.
could,
You know what it is?
motherfucker.
You know what it is?
I
So
hate it.
actually, this is actually a trend that I've been seeing a lot in like on like the cooking
So
channel, on like the cooking
stupid.
channels on
Why?
TikTok and stuff,
Who's gonna
and on
eat that?
YouTube, where they actually take a whole fucking like.
Invite
It's
all
not-
of TMC
where they- where
over
they'll-
there. What the hell?
So they actually take like I've seen this trend a lot where they'll take like a whole fucking dining table and just make it into a rotisserie board
Sit on
or
the
make it into
couch.
like a taco bar. It's always one of the two things, and it's fucking stupid because they'll be like, "I'm making a nacho bar, guys." It's literally like a bunch of meat right here, a bunch of cheese right here, a bunch of chips right here. It's like just fucking make the nachos. Like what the fuck are you doing? Because then you're inconvenience everybody. Because now it's gonna get fucking cold because it's right underneath the fucking ceiling fan, and you're
That's
at
your
the.
concern? Why do they have so much food? There's reason.
It's just like the way they lay it out.
cold.
It's gonna, cause it's like no, I gotta take a spoon and like, oh, get this little bit of meat right here. Just put it in a fucking bowl.
That's awesome. I was curious. So we're still on politics. It's good. I'm thinking.
This is the politics podcast now.
Yeah, this is gonna be this
PP.
episode. Afterwards, maybe we could do like a
We'll do
30-minute
more goofy
recap,
things.
and then probably come close to wrapping up for the day. But I was curious. Maybe make it a little more fun. Maybe
That make it fun.
discuss. But what would be
Okay, stop it.
what would be an actual? Because I've thought about this a little bit.
I need to piss.
I think that's fine. I think things like social media and Twitter make people really comfortable with whining for 5 minutes on it and feeling like they made a difference. Like, I'm so fucking upset with this,
So
and they
funny.
complain to their roommates and they complain on Twitter and they're like, everybody knows it doesn't do anything, but I think it hits the same point in your brain that makes you feel like you did. I think it's really good at keeping people quiet, like in terms of an actual scale. Like, actually, I don't know, because people. It feels like people are so volatile. You'd think you'd see more protests, but you know what you do see? You see a lot more Twitter going on.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you see, and I think it hits that same part of your brain that makes you just like comfortable. You're like, you know what? I said my piece. They'll hear me, but like obviously nobody thinks that. Nobody really thinks that, but it hits that same point in your brain. So I thought about it a couple times, because like people like us, like I mean, we think we're pretty decent people, at least in a very neutral, basic, ethical sense. Like, I like to think I can make some pretty generally educated decisions just based on wisdom and navigating a situation with the full information available to me. But I don't ever protest or anything like that. So I was curious, what would it take for you guys to actually protest? Not the most, but like the least. Like how far would, like, what would be the least that would have to happen to actually get you guys to physically go protest? I almost did it back when they were having the riots for the police stuff, because police reform is something I'm not necessarily passionate about, but it really needs to happen. There's so many
Something
parts
needs
of
to
that that is just so fucked up, and it's like there's so much, like the prison system itself is a whole beast to tackle. Like it needs reform, it needs work. And then it got hijacked and it got turned into this whole other thing, and it was just like, okay, well.
So I was actually.
Okay, sorry.
So I was actually thinking, like, I was actually kind of thinking about that, like when would take me to go protest. I've never protested, but I think if like the whole Roe v. Wade thing does happen, China actually overturns it, I think I would actually like try to spearhead a protest to go to his office and to his house and protest.
So now you know who is organizing this, and you can dox us.
I never said that I would. I just said.
Be careful. Depending on which way it goes, you could be labeled as a terrorist.
Oh.
Well, then fucking arrest me. I'm just protesting.
Oh.
They could. If they, I mean, to a point.
I mean, but if you try to believe in
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying.
So here's the thing that Jay and I talked about was that.
Just wear a mask.
Please.
Well,
don't be
I plan on wearing a gas mask because I probably get tear gas thrown at me, so that's one thing. But the one thing Jay and I talked about was like I was telling her like I want to go do more protests because I think that if I really believe in this stuff, I should just go protest about it and actually do something about it, rather than just be like, well, that's, kind of thing like I usually do.
Juno.
And I think the abortion thing would be one of those things where I would go drive to China.
Hold on.
Or either whether I spearhead the protest or someone else spearheads it to go protest. And at least if there, if I don't spearhead it, gather people, go, hey, let's go to his house now. Now he's going home, and go to his house and protest there. And if he doesn't like it, well, too bad, so sad. You shouldn't have fucking done that. And we stay there and we keep going. Because especially recently, now that like I've always had this like feeling that it's like, okay, now that Trump's elected, shit's gonna be bad, right? But now Biden is elected, it's like, okay, maybe we'll get a little better or whatever, based on my view of things. But seeing that that's not the case because the system's just too fucked up, now it's just like, okay, now it's time for like the people, whether I spearhead it or not, to actually start going and inconveniencing these politicians' lives as much as possible for things to get done. Because clearly not what's going on is not working. Because no matter how much we're doing, it's not working. So we might as well just go balls to the wall. Not saying that we should burn down their houses and blow up their houses and bring guns, but to at least inconvenience.
Simply make yourself visible.
Make yourself visible. If you're gonna fight for something, if you want something done, you might as well fight for it.
I kind of agree too. I don't know. I guess that's it. If it's just something that I really want change in, I think I might just do it, even if it's something small, but I want change in. That was my big thing, like, coming out of college was, like, I want to be more active in things that I like and that I want change in. I mean, to a different extent. Chandler's more at the political side. I'd be more, like, in the active side. I'm super into, like, the environment stuff, so I'm going to volunteer to help with a restoration project or with water issues or with the forest issues. I'd want to do that. I'd put my life in a different way on the line, but to me, I'd like to do that change. If it's anything that I feel passionate about, now that I have the time, it sounds crazy, but every weekend I would really like to do something that is going to benefit not what I believe, but what I think might help. It's not going to be as active in that way, but I'll be doing stuff to help people in those cases. And I guess protesting would be part of it, but I'm more interested in, like, actually being in there. So, for example, there's water issues. I'd volunteer to be like, hey, I can help you out. Let me see how I can help you out. Let me see what I know, and I can try to help this nonprofit group or this volunteer group, and give them my time because I have it, rather than, like, protesting. I've always felt like politics is, like, no offense, but I feel like politics is so hard to do change just through politics. So if I'm out there actively trying to do things, I think it's going to be more, I guess, engaging and actively working on stuff. And in that case, same, like, same, like, if I went to go help, like, a community out in Buckfuck nowhere with, I don't know, food sources or whatever, but I get arrested, then, at least I was trying to do something good. And what are they gonna say? You're trying to help people?
If you're feeding cows, just wave your arms around.
He shrugged his arms really, really hard.
Looked painful.
Yeah. He almost dislocated it.
Pop test.
We heard every 5 like
Pop
little
test.
like vertebrae like unpop and pop back. It was kind of scary, honestly. I don't know if I want him back on.
I don't like
He needs to calm down.
I don't like that.
Chandler's making food.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
You can't, what would make you actually protest?
Is a protest from literally anything? Like, what would make me protest?
Yeah, like you're unhappy with.
I have to be dead broke, everything taken away from me, my family, friends, you know, goals, whatever. I'd have to be. That would force me to actually resort to like protest, getting me out in the streets or whatever, protesting, whatever it is.
Is that like,
I'd try to do the best I could with what I can to improve my situation as the best I can. But yeah, I'd have to be like on my knees, like before I go out in the streets.
I agree too. They took my diet Dr. Kaleb. You'd be pretty pissed off as well.
What's
Be
that?
fucking pissed, dude.
I said they took my diet Dr. Kaleb. I'd be pretty pissed off as well.
Pissed.
is that because like you just think the energy would be better used, like just trying to adapt to the situation, or
Adapt, yeah.
versus like
I don't
try to fucking stand in front of the river and redirect it?
Try to adapt or try to work with what you can at every route possible, every method possible,
Cut that out.
everything you can to take care of yourself. But if you can't even do that,
Then it's like,
then you really have no choice.
See,
If you want to keep living and or doing what you want to do, then you gotta. And yeah, I guess you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. See, I was kind of on
I
that train
agree.
too. It's just that I think just
Okay.
like recently with all this shit going on, it's just kind of changed my mindset of like, you know what, fuck it. Because if I'm gonna be this person and have all these different beliefs and stuff and go, well, I know what's right, I know how I can fix this, then why the fuck am I just sitting here in my house doing nothing about it? I might as well do
I
something
guess
about
so.
it.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Whether my life is being affected or not, because at the end of the day, it's not just about me, it's about everybody.
And I mean, kind of, I don't know. I'm in the middle because like, I want to focus my energy on something that I feel more actively on.
Yeah.
That's
And
actually making a difference.
and I feel like the idea of like the political beast, where it's just like, I feel like I'd slam my
feels like
head,
it's undefeated.
just
in
slam my
some
head into a
weird
wall
way.
all day, and it's like, maybe I make the smallest, tiniest. Okay, we'll start saying it then rather than and. We decided. Like, that's my difference. Like, the change in a single word. Like, I'm just saying, like, so minuscule. It's like, we'll take a 15-minute
I guess
drive
change is
instead
so
of a
slow
20-minute
through
drive.
politics.
Yeah, I would.
It's so slow, and I feel like I could use that energy into doing a change that will help now.
Yeah. But
That's
I mean,
my big thing. And I guess protests in a way do help, but it
Yeah.
wouldn't be my first resort. My first resort would be going to this nonprofit or working with groups that are working on stuff like that and helping them out. And then again, like Kyle kind of said, was like last resort, nothing's working. It's going down in flames. I guess I'm gonna have to protest.
Like I
There's
said-
nothing else I can do.
exactly. That's beautiful. Perfect.
Well, for me,
Basically what I was saying.
Yeah.
like,
And that goes for political stuff too. Like, I feel like if we want to get money out of politics, I don't necessarily need to go out in the street and riot or protest. I feel like if we vote for the right people or try to do, stuff like
Smells.
that.
Yeah.
Stupid fucking dog. Yeah,
you're not-
you're not getting any.
when it comes to political change, I'm always a believer for like, it comes from the inside out. Get people elected in there who want to change, they'll do them, then they'll do it.
I think
Real quick tangent. The whole money in politics thing. I don't think it was Socrates, but I think it was Plato because he wrote the Republic and he did a lot of political philosophy. But because I think he was like ideal of like the perfect government system or whatever. I think that was part of the Republic. But I remember. I don't remember. I forget the exact terms of the quote and the situation. I can see her dumb little nose like sticking up.
Chandler was like pointing at her and then pointing at the wings, like, and just like getting excited.
Yeah. But I think his quote was like, it wasn't really necessarily a quote, but like the idea was like when he was designing like the concept of politics, but when he was like designing his idea of politics, he had it designed as being like a economically like medial, like you survive, you get by, you like middle class, maybe lower middle class. What?
I'm just thinking of the audio. You're like talking about something and you just hear weeds.
Okay.
Right, you're right. You probably can.
Yeah, you can
I'll
probably.
let it out.
No, it'll be there. I can't do anything about that. That's the raw audio. Yeah. I can maybe mute one of the ears if it's stereo. I could like.
Can we stop eating them? What's going on?
No, you're fine. It's okay.
It'll be funny.
But he talked about like how he designed the career to be like lower middle class. Like you get fine, you do buy, you do fine, you'd get by, you could get a car here and there. You know, you'd be all right. It'd be like a respectable career, but you wouldn't be getting rich off of it because you didn't think there was a place for money in politics because he didn't want politicians to be people that were there to make money. They wanted people that were not interested in the money. They were interested in the work, in the job, because they would do the best job. People that would just be there for the money wouldn't do a good job. And here we are now, which I think was really interesting. There's also a really cool point that I think, I forget what, is she right there still? Juno.
Yeah, she's down.
She's right here.
Okay, good girl.
She's good.
You're good.
She's listening to
Just
my
checking
wings.
on you, baby. I love you.
I
But-
love you, little baby.
What, baby darling? But there's like I forget exactly who talked about it, but there was one guy who talked about he thought that the career of like a politician was the most like important, and he's like the two best lives you can live. Like the second is philosopher. The first he thought was a politician, because a politician will help create a society in which you have one of the most important resources as a person, which is leisure time, or they saw you can only do philosophy with true leisure time, because like if you get time off just enough to like recover and then go back to work, you don't have any time to you need time to just recover. And then philosophy takes mental effort if you're really doing it and trying to dive into these things, and it's like you can't do that while you're recovering from your physical exhausting or mentally exhausting job. You need time to recover and then do this. And his whole argument was a politician will create a society in which people are not working themselves to death and they have that leisure time, which then allows a philosopher to live the second best life. And I thought that was really cute and interesting, because most philosophers, which I always find interesting, that most philosophers, you like talk to them, it's like, well, naturally the best life is that of the philosopher. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because it's like Jeff Bezos probably has a lot of fun. He's not a philosopher. He probably has a good time. But I mean,
Went to the moon or something?
yeah,
Is
it's
that
like
what you
that depends on like I guess your idea of.
I don't see no philosophers going to space.
I don't think there's been any on the moon.
Your boy
Alright,
can validate him.
Socrates. Riddle me this one.
Until Socrates in space, I'm fine with it. Sorry.
But that was a really cute point that he like thought so fondly of like good politicians, because they created an environment in which he could even do what he loved to do. I thought that was really cute.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and then going back to the protest question, I guess, I mean, literally with all that police stuff going on, I was thinking about it, but it was like literally only the time span of a week, and then it become, you hear they like burned down a church or something. It's like, well, I guess that's done then. It's like, I don't want to represent that. That's not what I'm representing. I'm representing reform, not chaos and fucking violence in the streets. That's not what I'm
A
interested
lot of
in.
those people were opportunists too. They saw people stealing shit and breaking windows.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
It's a group mentality thing.
It's so stupid. You know what's interesting? I think the reason a lot of stuff only goes so far these days with a lot of those like big political choices and stuff like that and activist groups, there's no figureheads anymore. I think you need a figurehead. I think you need an idea.
model.
You need leadership to that. It's not enough to just have a mob saying, we're unhappy. You need a leader. I think you actually need that in that group. Because think about the civil rights movement, but remove Martin Luther King.
It'd be chaos.
You would have not.
You don't have
you would have
anyone
had.
to talk for that group.
You would have had a couple riots, a couple freakouts, and we've gone right back to business as usual. But he took control of the situation, along with, I'm sure he had an incredible support system and
Yeah.
network of people helping him, but he stepped in or fell into that leadership role, fit there, and people were like, he represents what we want. And they pushed him, and he let them push him, and then he just followed it up, and then it created one of the most
They
successful
change.
peaceful protest civil rights movements ever,
Yeah.
arguably in recent times. So it's like, and then Gandhi had his whole, he was a figurehead. Like, there's not figureheads anymore. And then even if they are, you find out later, it's like, well, there was a whole thing with them and a 13-year-old, so, how great are they? Which is like a whole nother thing.
China.
Dude,
China.
girls are going nuts. They're
What's
fucking,
going on?
I don't know.
They
Wait,
like kids.
Might
going
know.
on?
I don't know, dude, but
It's insane.
they're everywhere, bro.
China.
Fucking
They're
everywhere.
scary. Watch out, people.
Whoa. Oh, it's like,
That's pretty big.
yeah, that's an accusation.
No, I'm just kidding. Hey,
She's a monster.
Our cat's trying to get used to Juno, and
Kind of
working pretty good.
Juno's trying to
She's
get
out of the room.
for like
Who's
5.
watching her?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of good.
For day 1, this is pretty good.
This is really good. She's getting used to it. She's starting to realize that
It's not gonna hurt her.
not a threat. She's just a goofy dog eating kibble.
yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
Her tail's not puffed up either.
It's true. She's just observing.
She doesn't feel threatened.
As long as
She's just
keeps her
observing.
distance.
Yeah.
I
But,
said some
um,
wings.
She's closing that gap too.
That frustrated me so much. I feel like that stuff could have been so useful, so good for police and the prison system and all that. We needed huge reform, and it was inspiring because it was gaining traction. People like my mom and dad were talking about. My brother went out and went to a protest. People that I would normally look at and go not only are they interested in it, but they're participating. I'm like, this is big. This is a lot of people are interested in this. And I swear, it was a week. It was a week or two, and the next thing you hear is dumpster burned, kid killed in dumpster fire. It's like, okay,
I
cool.
wish I was that kid.
Thanks, guys. So I wonder if that would have gone further if there was somebody that sort of figureheaded it.
It could be.
I don't know how you do that though. I don't know how I don't know how you'd even set that up.
I
Having
mean,
an
social media.
organization.
Literally just say,
social media.
I guess literally all it would take
It's a
is
huge tool these days.
yeah, but I feel like
How does that?
I think that makes it
go
worse because I think what you have then is you have 20 people with 20,000 followers in the group all competing for it. They just look like part of the group.
No, we actually studied this in our our capstone
Okay.
class. With the correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle. But
He said no. No.
when we learned about the social media use in the Middle East, it would actually be that people who were more well educated on the subject because they went to say to school in the U.S. or something, the people then would follow those people and see them as leadership because they were seen as more educated. Am I right?
Well, sure, shit don't happen out here though.
Yeah.
I could be
never
wrong.
happens.
Very vaguely. I remember learning when we were going over that. The argument, though, was the lack of a figurehead in a movement. Those movements tend to die because there's no central reporting base. I don't know what you call it.
No
There's
justification. I
there's
guess
no
It just becomes a mob,
yeah. There's no
with a bunch of
and a
different
mob is.
figures, a bunch of different opinions, and then when you have that,
And it just gets further and further. Next thing you know, you have entire groups of people that are having protests where they just mostly want to riot. It's
and it's
if you have a group where it's
when you simplify it, if you have 10 different people yelling at you, and you're the cash register at McDonald's, you're
It's
not
like-
gonna know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's chaos.
But if you have
and
one
you're
person
gonna
yelling at
negative
you.
it. But if you have one person who comes up and explains what's
the
going
situation is, and these people
It can
agree,
be-
and they say, "Yep, we agree." And it's like, well,
well,
fuck.
there we go. It's easier. It's easier to understand. It's easier to find a solution. It's easier to compromise. But when you have this whole group of people, and also it has a better connotation. It has a better perspective coming to this person. If
does
you have
make a lo-
multiple people coming to one person or one group, now they're going to be hostile. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to take that as an attack, and they're going to be defensive. When you have one person standing for all these people coming in, it's not as a big of an attack. It's this one person who's representing all these other people. So now you guys can compromise. Now you don't feel defensive. Now you can be able to talk and be a little more vulnerable and try to find a compromise. Same thing with any other person. No one's going to react to this hostility. Everyone's just going to shut down or fight. It's fight or flight.
I remember in that class though, Chandler, those movements, it's important to have a central figurehead or leader to coordinate.
And then within that movement, the protests that were most effective were ones that were disruptive.
Right.
Yeah. So what we came to conclude on that Twitter and Tear Gas book, which is about like the protests in the Middle East for democracy, was the two main things that helped. Maybe there's a third one or something, but two of the main things that helped with the protest was a figurehead and it was disruptive. Those are the most effective protests.
Sounds about right.
That sounds.
Which was my point earlier with the whole
Am I
going to like
is
politicians'
that
houses and
common
being
sense?
disruptive because they're seen as effective.
Like, am I just a genius or like?
Am I kind of smart? Am I kind of Socrates' great uncle?
I think you're wrong.
Or do I just make fucking sense?
Alright,
But that's why I was arguing earlier about the whole protest at politicians' houses, because the whole
I mean, that's like
concept of
I
a
mean-
figurehead, someone who spearheads the movement, and it's disruptive, which are seen as being very tough protests.
So maybe that's what we need with these protests, is just an actual like unified body and a figurehead to it, or at least a council, a community, or something like, hey, these are some people that are. I think the problem is now.
everything is more like,
Nobody trusts anybody.
yeah.
Nobody trusts anybody.
And I think,
And I don't blame anybody.
yeah, with the social media, you are so paranoid. Like, you can't trust this news, you can't trust this news. So what can you trust? You can't trust stuff on social media because now it's pointed at you.
Trust my
What do
cat.
you trust? I have that feeling a lot where I'm trying to find, like, I want to learn more about, like, politics or this or that. What do I look at? Because everything is going to be, like, this mixed up, this thing, and now I'm just paranoid, and now I just don't want to watch it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to get involved in it
Exactly.
because I don't know what's going on.
If you want the most reliable sources for things,
Juno,
just
leave her
look-
alone.
Just
Juno, you give her space.
if you want to fight for if you want to have an opinion on something, and you want the most non-biased resource you can get, the best thing to stick to is a primary source, which is pretty much,
What is that?
well, it's pretty much
Like the actual
say,
article they're talking about.
the actual
Where do you
law.
find that?
Well, I mean, if it's a
There's-
government thing,
well,
it'll be posted under like
anytime
government.
with government, there's always.
200 pages.
Yeah, who the fuck? That's what I'm saying. Who the
No
fuck?
one's gonna read that.
Sorry, you continue.
Sorry, I'm just.
I mean, yes, but
frustrating.
if you want the most non-biased source, that's what it's going to take to actually.
That's what I hate, because that's what the news is supposed to fucking do. They're supposed to
Summarize
realistically
it, simplify it.
actually explain that to make it digestible.
But see,
They're supposed to
that's
inform
the
us in a
that's the
neutral
problem.
way. I
But
hate it.
That's what I'm saying. It's the problem with American media. Is that's
Even
always
in my
biased.
profession, I'm not
stupid.
going to go through 500 pages to find one little
That's an entire-
regulation.
I will
I'm
say-
not gonna do that.
Keeping up with that is literally an entire career. Nobody has the time.
That's why.
For me, my experience is the most
hate it.
reliable source. If you want to look at one news media outlet, the most reliable source is NPR.
I mean, you're right. When I was looking at
NPR is the single most reliable
NPR.
news source. NPR is. Because they will report things, not in a biased way, but they will just say, here's what the law says. They'll just say it, and that's it. They will not say, if they have an opinion piece, they'll explain what the law is, and then they'll say, but in my opinion, it's like, this is what I think.
I guess the harder part is like, how do you prove to people now that that is not bias? Because
yeah, I've heard
that's the
NPR's
thing.
left leaning, but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing.
it's-
Is like it's just there's so much paranoia now because of these big news things that everyone trusted. We're now starting to realize they're a joke.
It's-
So now it's like,
I will say
well, who can we
It's
trust?
NPR
Even if you said like, oh, this is not biased. Well, how do we know that it's not biased on your side? you know?
NPR is left leaning by their opinions, but when they actually just state what the law is, it's not.
well,
So that's
fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
If you look at an article that someone wrote about a law, and they explain what the law is, but they give their opinion, that half of the article of the opinion is biased because that's what they think. But if you're taking just the half of the article of them explaining what the law is, that's the non-biased area. So, and NPR does
You know?
have sections where they'll just have just opinion pieces, but then they also will just say, here's what's happening. And that's it. They will not give their insight. So, like, recently with Russia stuff, they go, here's what happened today in the Russia-Ukraine war so far. And that's it. No opinion. They'll just say what happened. They'll tell you where they get the sources from. And that's it.
I know what you're saying.
You just have to, when you read
That's
the
all I
article.
want. I mean, I just want to be up to date. I don't really need somebody to explain to me what I need to think. I'll figure it out. Just tell me what's going on.
I'm just letting you know, like, if you want to
I'm
not read,
agreeing with you.
Yeah. If you just want, like, in short, if you just want the, like, you could just, like, discern between the opinion and the fact. But other than that, you're pretty much looking at the primary source itself.
Maybe I'll check out NPR.
What do you think, Juno?
Does Juno have a collar?
Right there.
Oh. Go.
Sick.